Have you ever bought something that was a knockoff or an off-brand to save a little money? Only to realize it wasn't like the real thing. Some of you 80s kids understand exactly what I'm talking about. Back then, they would come out, when I was a kid, they would come out with knockoff cereals. Now today, they're pretty good about imitating and getting sometimes even the imitations better than the original. But back in the 80s, we didn't have regulation on sugar. Our cereal was not regulated. And so the real thing was really, really good and addictive. And then your parents would buy to save a little money, you buy an off-brand cereal and tell you it's the same thing. Don't worry, it's the same thing. And you go home and you taste it, no, that is not the same thing. There's like no sugar in that, Dad. Well, add your own sugar. Then why are you saving money if I got to add the sugar? Just buy it with the sugar in it, Dad. You know, oftentimes we buy things thinking that it's going to be like the real thing, and it ends up being what? We're still hungry, still empty, still lonely, still no satisfaction. You know, we think that things will bring us our satisfaction. We think that relationships will bring us satisfaction, degrees, titles, possessions, promotions. And they all bring a temporary fulfillment for a short season, but they can never fill the God-sized hole in our life. Do you realize that every one of us, in our spirit, in our heart, there's a God-sized hole? Who put it there? God did, because he intended for us to fill that God-sized hole with God, that we would fill it with him. This is his plan all along. Only Jesus can satisfy you. Hear me today. Only Jesus can satisfy you. We find this all throughout Scripture. Jesus says, taste and see. Come on now. He said, you drink from my well, you'll never thirst again. Only Jesus can satisfy you. Sorry, Snickers. Only Jesus can satisfy you. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. As we just learned in our last I Am series, one of the I Am statements, Jesus says, I am the light of the world. Why is that important? Because the only thing that can fill darkness is light. The only thing that can drive out darkness is light. And so if you do anything other than put the light of God in your life or your heart, it will not drive out darkness. It will not drive out depression. It will not drive out emptiness. It will not drive out anxiety. It will not drive out fear. It will make you still just as hungry. Like, what's the next thing? And I must reach the next goal. And the next goal is going to make me happy. Only to be chasing the wrong things all of your life. The sooner you realize Jesus is the real deal, the sooner as you realize Jesus is what my soul really needs, the quicker you can move to having that hole filled in your life. Today I want to talk to you about the thought, a man born blind. A man born blind. Let's go to it in John chapter 9, verses 1 through 3. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man who had been blind from birth. Rabbi, his disciples asked him, why was this man born blind? Was it because of his own sins or the sins of his parents? It was not because of his sins or the sins of his parents' sins, Jesus answered. This happened so, let's read this last part together, so that the power of God could be seen in him. One more time, so that the power of God could be seen in him. Today, I want you to understand something. This culture believed that when someone was born with a birth defect, or they had something that happened, a disability that happened in their lifetime, they were taught and believed that this person either sinned greatly in their life, and that's why they're being punished, or their parents sinned greatly, and so that's why the kids turned out this way. And so the disciples that asked this was not being sarcastic or mean or cruel. It was just a culture thing that they believed this. They had been taught this. And so they're just trying to find out answers. Who was the one who committed the big sin? Was it him or his parents? And Jesus said, wrong question. This didn't happen to him so that he didn't happen to him because he made a mistake or his parents made mistakes. He says, no, wrong question. Jesus says it's so that the power of God could be seen. This is why he had to walk through this hardship. It's so that the power of God could be on display. It kind of reminds me of the same thing Jesus said when he was set at the tomb of Lazarus. Remember that? He said, Jesus, the reason why he was dead was because that God's power could be on display. The reason why Lazarus died, the reason why all these people had to mourn was because God's power is about to be on display. Even though we believe God has the power to heal, oftentimes many people have been born or obtained later in your life a disability. You have prayed for it to be taken away or to be healed, and it hasn't happened yet. Can I tell you this? Let's look at this statement together. Sometimes we don't always get the healing we prayed for, but God's power can always be shown in our life. We don't always get the answer to the prayer that we want, but one thing is solid is that God's power can always be at work and on display in our life, no matter what the answer is. This man he was blind. The people have oftentimes that bless me the most are the people who have been born with disabilities or had things come along their way, and now they're suffering in ways they didn't think they would ever have to do, but they keep on smiling. They keep on lifting their hands in worship. They stay faithful to God. Their testimony grows stronger through the hardship, through every loss, through every funeral, through every bad report, through everything they struggle. They keep lifting up the name Jesus. Why? Because God's at work through their life. And just because God doesn't answer our prayer the way we think he should answer our prayer, one thing is solid, is that God can be at work in your life. And sometimes the greatest miracle is how God works inside of us. Today I want you to see this. They persevere and they worship anyways. Number one, write this down. In this story, we see this. Jesus heals what is broken. Jesus heals what is broken. Can I tell you today, the average person in this room has 2,000 photos on their phone. And a third of those are considered selfies. That means there's an estimate of close 650 selfies on your phone right now. And new estimates, I read this the other day. You're going to find this very interesting. New estimates say everyone under the age of 40, and in their lifetime, they will have 25,000 selfies they have taken. Can you believe? If you're under 40 today, before you die, you're going to have 25,000 selfies. That's a lot of selfies. Can we say this and be very true? We live in a self-centered selfie culture. I don't think we can ever get around that, right? It's very true. We live in a selfie culture. Come on now. Some of you walk around with duck lips and don't even realize you do it all the time. We know you're trying to make your face look slimmer. You're not fooling anybody. Let me hide my fat roll. There we go. All right. We have become obsessed with ourselves. We've been taught this from a young age. The phones drive us this way. Social media drives us this way. It's tutoring us, and then it is encouraging us to continue to be a selfie culture, which in return causes us to be a self-centered culture. Everything's about me. Everything's about my feelings. Everything's about my happiness. Everything's about me, myself, and I. Oh, me, myself, and I. But the quickest way to unhappiness in my life, come on now, the quickest way to unhappiness in my life and your life is to make everything about me. If you're living your life unhappy, I can tell you it's probably because you made your life about you. Everything will lead. When you put everything about you, your life will be unfulfilled. Your life will not be at peace. Your life will be empty. Hear me very clearly today. Self-centeredness, selfie society, which we all struggle with, comes and it leads us in a place of being empty, not being happy. Because then now we're gauging all of our happiness on how many likes we get from day to day. We're gauging all of our happiness whether or not we think we were bloated this day or not bloated this day. Did my cheeks look chubby this day or did they look skinny this day? You know, and we live it's so unfulfilling because all of our thoughts are about ourselves. All of our feelings are about ourselves, and it leaves you empty. But the quickest way to happiness, and fulfillment is to make my life about God. It's about serving His mission. It's about making Jesus first in my life. The moment I begin to do this and get the attention off of me and say it's all about Jesus, the moment my life starts being fulfilled, the moment I have purpose in my life. Let's be honest, this story of transformation today, it's really not about the blind man. I know we think it is. Unlike the other stories of change we've talked about, this story really is all about Jesus. This story is really about Jesus coming to him. How is that? Jesus shows up. This man didn't ask to Jesus. This man didn't cry out to Jesus. Jesus goes to this man. His disciples look at him and talk about him. I mean, they're having this third-party conversation over here. This man's not like, Jesus, come here, like we see in other stories. This story, Jesus goes to him. And look at this statement. The sooner all of us understand our story is all about Jesus, the quicker we can walk with clear vision and healing. The quicker we understand, oh, my story's all about Jesus. Some of you can't get past the trauma in your story. Some of you can't get past the self-centeredness of your story. Therefore, you don't walk with clear vision. You don't walk with a God-given purpose. You're not walking in God's peace because your story's been about me. And that's not the way God created us. And when our Creator made us to put Him first, it's like when that happens, it activates. All of a sudden, you got power you didn't know you had. Now you got a happiness you didn't know you could have. Now you got peace you didn't know you could have. Because I did the right thing. Some of you have been looking for cheat codes to your games. But I'm telling you, the cheat code to happiness is put God first. Put God first in your life. Surrender your life to Jesus. It's not that we don't matter. I'm not saying we don't matter. Obviously we matter, or Jesus wouldn't have came and died for us. We matter big time to God. It's that God matters first. That's the thing we got to realize. It's that God matters first. Look at this today. I wrote this chart out for you, and I think it helps display that maybe we can come to an understanding. We live in a self-centered society. When you're self-centered, as you see on the chart, self-centered is I love me, and then my head gets inflated, right? We think we're better than what we are. We get an inflated spirit. That's where pride comes in. That's where arrogance comes in. I'm in love with me. Well, ain't nobody else in love with you. Sorry. Self-centered people, I love me, and I'm inflating myself. Others are here to serve me. How attractive is that? It's not attractive. I don't know why I can't find another man. I'm just saying, maybe you're too self-centered. And then we have people on the other swing of the scale who are not self-centered, they're self-disgust. They're disgusted with themselves. I hate me. I'm no good. Leave myself deflated. Others are here to judge me. Can I tell you, I can go between both of those. How about you? Sometimes I'm too self-centered, and sometimes I'm too disgusted at myself. And we swing back and forth from being self-centered to self-disgust, self-centered, self-disgust, which leads to all the bad fruit. But we look at the center of God-centeredness. When you become God-centered, putting God first in your life, what happens? Now I realize God does love me. Despite my mistakes, despite my failures, despite my sin, God loves me unconditional in my life. That fills me up. And I'm filled up now. Now I don't have a void. Now I'm actually getting purpose. Now I'm living my life fulfilled. I'm filled up. And I realize, you know what? I'm called to love and to serve others. The best way out of depression is to help somebody else. The best way out of a dark time is to put your attention on helping somebody else. This is the way God created us to be. So when I put God first, I allow His love to pump me up and to forgive me and bring peace. It fills me up to the place now, you know what? I don't mind helping you because God's already helped me. I don't mind helping you because I'm filled up. I have found my purpose. Do you see how self-centeredness is leading this culture? And over the next few weeks, hear me today, over the next few weeks, you're going to hear us talking about a thing called Growth Track. We are excited as a staff and leadership to bring this out. We're going to be talking more about it over the next few weeks. You're going to hear opportunities you're going to have to come and discover your spiritual giftings and how you can use your giftings the way God created you so that you live fulfilled. I'm serving the way God created me. I'm serving in a unique way that God made me. We're going to help you discover those, and find places that you can serve. Do you understand how we are broken as a society? Do you understand where the selfie culture is taking us? Can you come into agreement with me? It's got out of hand. But it doesn't have to be out of hand with the people of God. It doesn't have to be that way, church. We can come back and put God first. We can lift God first in our life. So Jesus wants to heal what is broken. And He can do that when I realize my life is just not about me. It's all about Jesus. And number two, Jesus. He restores what is lost. Jesus restores what is lost. Look at verses 6 and 7 now. Jesus goes to the blind man. He spits on the ground, made mud. That's a pretty picture, isn't it? Spits on the ground, makes mud with the saliva, spread the mud in the man's eyes, and then He told the blind man, go wash yourself in the pool of Siloam, and which means sin. So the man went and washed, and he came back seeing. Can I tell you this today, that Jesus spit, made mud, and then put mud in the guy's eyes. Smeared the mud in the guy's eyes. And then told him, go wash. How cruel is that? I mean, it seems kind of cruel, doesn't it? That Jesus would put mud in the guy's eyes and then ask the blind guy to go wash. I mean, talk about having to use faith. No, I can't go here. I can't wash here. His friend's like, wash. No, Jesus said, go down to this pool and wash. He's having to walk in faith. He's had to do something here. And Jesus smears mud in his eyes. Can I ask you this? Have you ever prayed for a miracle and all you felt like you got was mud? Have you ever prayed for a miracle and all you ever felt like you was stuck in the mud? You're not alone. Here this man thinking, Jesus is going to touch me. I've heard about Jesus. And all of a sudden, Jesus puts mud in his eyes. What kind of healing is this? What kind of miracle is this? If anything, this guy could have been insulted. Is he making fun of me? Why am I having to walk around with mud in my eyes? Can I tell you that sometimes it gets harder before it gets easier? Hear me today. Sometimes it gets harder before it gets easier. I know. I'm your pastor, and I'm supposed to tell you everything's going to come out hunky-dory. But I can tell you the truth that sometimes it gets harder before it gets easier. Don't stop. Don't stop walking in faith. Just because you feel stuck in the mud, just because you feel like someone's put mud in your eye, don't stop. See, look at this. Sometimes the biggest miracle is what God does inside of us during the middle of our mess. Sometimes the biggest miracle is what happens when we haven't got the answer we're looking for. Sometimes the biggest miracle is when we got mud in our eyes and we're still obeying God. Could it be our moment of mud? Could be God setting us up for a miracle. Jesus asked him to walk in faith. Jesus asked him to walk with mud in his eyes. Go to the pool and wash off. Look at this statement. Sometimes the biggest faith you will ever use is when you have to walk between the mess and the miracle. Yeah, that's a real word right there this morning. Sometimes the hardest part of flexing whether or not I really have faith is, am I able to walk between the mud, the mess, and the miracle I know God has for me? There is what separates the boys from the men. There is what separates us. Are we really a fan? Or are we really a follower? The biggest faith takes walking when you feel like you got mud in your eye and you're looking for your miracle. The biggest faith when you can't see your way out. You're trusting every word that Jesus is telling you. And you know, I'm following the voice of God. Which leads me to number 3. Jesus shows the way. Jesus shows the way. Of course, when this man washes, his eyes become clear. He can see. And now, all the haters, all the religious Pharisees, they were all already hating on Jesus. So that they we're going to file a complaint. And so they went down to HR and said, Jesus was working on the Sabbath, and that goes against our religious law. So somebody needs to do something about Jesus working on the Sabbath because he healed this blind man on the Sabbath. Are you understanding? How stupid does that sound? I'm filing a complaint because Jesus did a miracle on the Sabbath. That's what religion does to you. Religion doesn't care what Jesus does. Religion's all about following laws and regulations. Have you followed the law? Have you followed the regulations? Religious leaders hated on Jesus. Never mind, he just healed a blind man. Religion always criticizes what Jesus is doing. They kicked this man out of the temple, and Jesus goes to find this man. Let's look what happens when Jesus sees this man after he can see it in verse 35 and 38. When Jesus heard what had happened, he found the man and asked, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" The man answered, "Who is he, sir? I want to believe in him." And Jesus replies, "You have seen him, and he is speaking to you." "Yes, Lord, I believe," the man said, and he worshiped Jesus. This is kind of a humorous story when you think about it, right? Jesus heals him. The man can't see. And now Jesus asks him, "Listen, hey, do you believe in the Son of Man?" Notice he didn't have to ask the demons that in our last story, last week. The demons knew who he was. But he's asking the blind man, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" Hmm. And the man goes, I want to, but who is he? And Jesus is like, let me make it really simple for you, very clear. He goes, it's the man that you see. You seen him. Time out. This guy ain't seen me, right? People, his eyes just get open. He's seeing for the first time. And Jesus is like, all right, you're seeing the man. And in case you're not getting it, he says, he's also the one speaking to you. Oh, you're Jesus. Sometimes I wonder if Jesus is doing the same thing to you and I today. Hey, open your ears. I was feeling something in worship, but I don't know if that's really God. I don't know. Jesus is like, hello. I'm the one that you're feeling today. I'm the one who's speaking to your heart today. And many people in this room right now, Jesus is speaking to your heart. Don't blow it off. He's saying, I'm making it very clear. I'm speaking to you. You're hearing my spirit speak. Don't miss out on this opportunity. He said, yes, Lord, I believe. And then he worshiped. Wait. Time out. He didn't go through worship teaching. No one taught him he needed to worship God, but it was a natural response. What are you saying, Pastor? The worship team should never have to say, hey, let's all lift our hands and worship today. It should just be a natural response when you know who Jesus is in your life. Sometimes we'll go encourage you. Sometimes we get complacent. Sometimes we got to be reminded, but it's all about Jesus, church. Hear me today. This story is all about Jesus. Jesus shows up to the blind man. This blind man walks in faith when he has mud in his eyes and does what Jesus says, and then Jesus heals this man. Jesus approached this man. Jesus brought healing. This man comes and sees, wow, that's the Son of Man. That's the Son of God. I believe and I worship. It's a response. That should be our response every time we come. Jesus goes on and he says, now the spiritual blind, they don't see. He goes, they can't see. But I'm here to bring spiritual sight to those who can't see. He wasn't talking about just physical sight. He was saying the spiritually blind, they need to see. He goes, but the bad news is there's those who think they have spiritual sight, and really, because of religion, they're spiritually blind. Many people think they see the way, and all they can see is religion. And Jesus says, no, you got to see me. You got to see me. Today, I want to close with this story. And when I was younger, in grade school, they used to take us and give us the eye exam test as a group. Anybody remember those days when we do this? I don't know if they still do it anymore or not. But they would take you, and they would bring my whole class into a room they had set up with the eye chart. I think we have an eye chart here on the screen where you can see. And I had bad eyes. And so if you failed the eye exam, they would send a note home with your parent and be like, your son needs glasses. Now today, glasses are very fashionable, and you have thousands of styles. But back when I was a kid, there was only one style. It was called nerd. Anybody remember those days? Yeah, big old glasses, yeah. We call them hipster glasses now, but they were called nerd. And I was like, I'm not wearing those. No. So what I would do, while I was standing in line close to the chart, and people are taking it, I would memorize the chart. I'm like, all right, I can read the R and the DR. That's pretty good. But, an EFE, I can remember that. Okay? Those 3 lines, I don't have a problem reading. But after that, I'm like, Earl Furled Prawn. That's who is going to dance right there. Earl Furled Prawn, the dancer Pizzo. I would go and I'd memorize that. I'd be there, and I'd get up in a line, and I would cite it by memory. I'd miss a couple just to make sure they didn't catch on. He's good. All along, I'd walk out and walk into the wall because I couldn't see. I couldn't read my notes very good unless I sat close to the front. If I got seated too close to the back, I was like, is that an A, C, or E? I can't tell. Hey, what'd you get there? I was too prideful to ask for help because I didn't want to have to wear those nerdy glasses. Finally, when I got older and I got to drive somebody besides myself, you should try driving in the 90s and early 2000s before we had MapQuest on our phone. You had to actually be able to read the signs before you got to them. If you can't read them very well, you're like, oh, last minute. It was dangerous. I was dangerous on the road. But finally, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I gotta do this. And finally, I went to the eye doctor and said, hey, doc, I can't see. I need help seeing. You know what he did? 5-10 minutes. This one, this one, this one, this one. Which one is better? Which one is worse? Can you read it? 10-15 minutes later, I walk out. He put soft contacts in my eyes. I didn't even have to wear glasses if I did want to. And I could see clearly. It was a miracle. I'm like, wow, this is what it feels like to drive with clear eyes. I could actually watch the game and I have to be so close. See, when I admitted I couldn't see, and I surrendered myself to the eye doctor, all of a sudden, my vision becomes clear. All of a sudden, I got the help I needed. And for many of us here, that's the way we live our life. We're too stubborn. It's all about me, about me. I don't want to admit I need help. I don't want to admit that my life is really empty inside. I don't want to admit it. And then we keep trying to do it on our own, and it's not working. But the minute we say to Jesus, I need you, and we surrender to Jesus' authority in our life, all of a sudden my life becomes clear. I experience His grace, His love, and His mercy. So as we bow our heads today, we remember this story of change. It's all about Jesus. If your life hasn't put Jesus first, it's all about Jesus. Maybe you're a Christian, but you haven't put Jesus first. You just say, I believe He is the Son of God, but I haven't put Jesus first. Remember, our life is all about Jesus. That's the only way we're going to be fulfilled.